Greetings to all of you. I imagine that many of you, like me, are still reverberating with the energies of the lunar eclipse. I'm doing this video less than a week after that powerful eclipse. For many of us, as I spoke about in my video about the lunar eclipse, it was a time where what was needing to come into the light of consciousness from our own shadow aspects of ourselves, from our own deep emotions, from what's been held in the shadow in the collective. It was needing to come into light in order for it to be healed and transformed. And I talked a lot about how that could play out in our relationships and our tendencies to get caught in our trauma patterns or our projections onto each other. Well, now we're moving towards the new moon on November 23rd. And in a minute, I'll pull up the chart. I think it's important as we're working with these energies to remember what I call the dance of the transits. That as we go through one set of powerful planetary energies with the transits, we're being guided into the next phase, into the next movement, the next rhythm that is supporting us in our growth and evolution. So this new moon on November 23rd is following up on that powerful eclipse and helping us take the next step. So let's look at what that means for us. Let's look at the chart. So here is the chart for this new moon. And again, as I've been doing in some of my recent videos, I'm going to talk about the energies in the chart, the tropical zodiac chart. And then I'm going to show you exactly where the sun and moon and planets are in the sky at the time of the new moon. That's called visual astrology. Now, it's important to remember that the tropical zodiac does not reflect the movement of the precessional cycle. So the signs that the sun and moon and planets are in are not the same as the constellations. When we look at where things are exactly in the sky from a visual astrology perspective, it's showing us the exact location in the constellations where the sun and moon and planets fall at that moment in time. Remember that the tropical zodiac is about our experience on the earth plane. It is the signs of the zodiac are connected to the seasonal cycle and carry the energies of the sun and of the earth as we're moving through our experience on this earth planet in this third dimensional reality. So I think what we see in the chart is showing us how these energies are going to manifest in our lives here. Then when we look at the visual astrology, we're looking at how those energies are coming in to us from the sky. And you can think of it as perhaps what is the deeper spiritual intent or energy of these planets and the sun and the moon at that moment in time. So looking at the tropical zodiac chart, we see a stellium in Sagittarius with the new moon and sun, Venus and Mercury all conjunct in the sign of Sagittarius. Remember that Sagittarius has to do with our understanding that we're here on a spiritual journey, that everything that we experience is a part of our process of growth and evolution in this incarnation. Sagittarius is also the sign that has to do with having faith and trust in our experience, holding that sense that it all has meaning, it all has purpose. And Sagittarius, being a fire sign, is also about really connecting to what inspires us and connecting to our understanding of spirit, our connection with source, that fire of spirit within us. Sagittarius is also about the importance for us of seeing things in an integrative way. It's more right-brained ways of thinking and seeing rather than left brain, more analytical, linear, factual ways of understanding things. Sagittarius is about trying to see what's going on around us, to understand it, to learn about it in order to grasp the deeper symbolic meaning and deeper philosophical and spiritual meaning of what we're learning or what we're experiencing. So as we enter into this time of the new moon, tune in to your own experience of your spiritual journey. Tune in to what does give your life meaning and purpose, how you find your own connection with Source. It's also important to realize that with Venus and Mercury conjunct the sun and moon at the time of the new moon, this means that they're under the beams of the sun and invisible from view during this time. Any planet within 13 degrees of the sun is invisible to us. It's so close to the sun that we can't see it through the sun's light. But it also means that we're really being called to experience those energies of Venus and Mercury as in that powerful time of being in the cauldron of the sun, in merging with the sun's light and wisdom and healing energies. So it is a time to reflect on what in our relationships, Venus, what in our thoughts and ways of communicating are we needing to really work and transform in this time. I think it's also significant that at the time of this new moon, the sun and moon and Venus and Mercury are all trining Neptune, Jupiter, and Chiron. You'll notice that the trine with Neptune and Jupiter is an out of sign trine, so it's not quite as powerful, but it's still significant. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, so it's very in tune with these energies of this stellium. And Jupiter is that planet that is guiding us in having faith, in trusting that we are on a journey of evolution and growth. Jupiter right now is in the sign of Pisces, ruled by Neptune, right next to Neptune. So it's a time when we can be supported in feeling that connection with Source, in trusting that we're being guided by the currents of change and the energies of the sky and earth through this profound time of transition. And Jupiter and Neptune, in aspect to Venus and Mercury, are supporting us in looking at what in our ways of thinking, our ways of communicating, are we need to allow to dissolve in order to be more in that sense of faith, compassion, connection with spirit. What is it in the patterns in our relationships that we need to be aware of? What do we need to dissolve, and how can we open to more of a sense of compassion for ourselves, with each other, and a faith that we're all in this together, that we have that capacity to hear each other, see each other, support each other, hold each other in compassion, and work together through this intense time of transition and transformation. The thing we need to be careful of with this aspect is that the shadow side of Jupiter and Neptune can play off of what we were talking about in the meaning of the lunar eclipse. Neptune, if it's not worked in a balanced, conscious way, can become about our getting caught in illusions or projections, or not seeing ourselves and others clearly, getting caught up in thoughts and beliefs that are out of balance, that aren't grounded in reality, that are coming from our own distortions and projections. So this is a time at the new moon to take time to meditate, reflect, step back, look at your beliefs, look at how you think and communicate, look at how you are in your relationships. What are those patterns that are out of balance? What are the ones that may be coming more from your own reactivity or your own projections? How can we let those projections and distortions dissolve in order to see each other more clearly, in order to hold each other in more compassion? And Chiron, being in a powerful trine with all these planets, is supporting us in healing emotionally and healing our sense of ourselves and healing those patterns in our relationships, in our beliefs, our ways of seeing and thinking about things. And then these planets in Sagittarius are also an aspect of Pluto. So as we allow ourselves to heal and be more clear about where we're in balance, where we're out of balance, then Pluto is supporting us in that transformational process and being more empowered in our journeys and in our sense of faith in the path that we're on in this time of transformation. So let's now look at exactly where these planets are in the sky at the time of the new moon. So here you see where the new moon and sun are at the time of this new moon on November 23rd. You can see that they're right at the base of the stars of Libra. Remember that Libra is symbolic of the scales of justice, the scales of truth. And perhaps our most ancient archetypal understanding of the meaning of this constellation comes from ancient Egypt, where they had a deep understanding and reverence for Ma'at. Ma'at was seen as the goddess of harmony, natural order, justice, truth. She had an ostrich feather on her head, which was symbolic of living in right relationship with the earth, the sky, with the cosmos, with truth. The principles of Ma'at were how we take responsibility for living in right relationship with the resources of the earth, living in right harmony with each other, living in truth and integrity. The ancient Egyptian understanding of Ma'at is actually that she's a principle of the cosmos. We relate to her by seeing her as this figure, the goddess Ma'at. But at the deepest level, they believed that Ma'at represented that energy in the cosmos that is calling everything and all of us to live in right harmony. When we're in right harmony, we are in a vibrational way of being that allows us to be expressing our uniqueness while being a part of the interconnectedness of all that is. We no longer feel separate or caught in out of balance patterns. We feel like we're living in alignment with our soul self, with our purpose, with our deepest truth. So this new moon is calling you back into truth, into harmony, into how you can be in right relationship with yourself, with others, with the earth, and with the cosmos. At the time of death, it was believed by the ancient Egyptians that the soul of the one who had died would be met by Ma'at, and she would take the person's heart and put it on one side of the scale, and take the ostrich feather and put it on the other side. And if the person's heart was light as a feather, it meant they weren't weighed down by guilt, regret, all the weightiness of the imbalances of how they had lived their life. They were coming in with that sense of lightness and that sense of living in harmony and truth and balance. And then they would be able to move on to the other worlds. But if their heart was heavier than the feather, then they needed to return to the earth, reincarnate, continue their journey of healing in order to resolve whatever those issues were that were out of balance or out of right alignment or out of harmony. I think it's fascinating that there has been a great deal of research on, is there a weight to the soul? I mean, so much scientific research. And if you haven't read A New Science of Heaven by Robert Temple, I encourage you to read that book. He discusses in depth this research in one section of the book about these scientists that have visualized the transition of the soul from the body at the time of death, often as a light mist that seems to rise out of the body after death to return to source. And scientific studies that have attempted to weigh the weight of the soul have estimated it to be approximately 21 grams. Interestingly enough, that's about the weight of an ostrich feather. So whether our soul actually literally is that weight or not, it is a confirmation that we are soul selves having a finite experience here on earth. Our souls don't die. We continue in a process of growth and evolution. And Libra is guiding us at this time of the new moon to look at, where are we in our journey? Is our heart weighted down by those ways in which we know we're out of alignment with our path and purpose, or by those ways in which we're out of balance in our relationships, or ways in which we aren't in right relationship in holding ourselves in love and compassion, or ways in which our thoughts, our ways of communicating, our beliefs are out of balance and are causing disruption or conflict or divisiveness in our lives. So we're called by the energy of the sun and moon and the stars to come back into balance, come back into harmony. And Venus and Mercury are now right in the stars of Scorpius, next to the royal star Antares, the heart of the Scorpion. This is a very powerful star that is significantly carrying the energies of intensity, of transformation, of facing things in order to move through a profound process of change. So we may experience this new moon as a very intense time where issues in our relationships, issues in how we think, what we believe, how we communicate, really get activated in a more intense way. You may at the time of that new moon feel more reactive or more sensitive to what's going on in your relationships. Hold that with compassion and try to take time at this new moon to step back, meditate, reflect. What's getting triggered for me here? Why am I feeling these intense feelings in my relationships? Let that guide you to tune in at a deeper level to discern what's out of balance, or in what ways are you not in right integrity or right alignment with your own inner knowing, with your true self, with your soul self. Because Antares is trying to guide us to see what needs to transform and to support us then in working through that healing and transformation process. And I love that Antares, this star that is about deep transformation, is right under the constellation Ophiuchus, the great healer. So we're held in the sky under the care of the great healer, guiding us to tune in and be in this process of healing and transformation. So weaving this all together, these energies of the sun and moon and planets in the sky are helping us look at where we're out of balance. And then the energies in the chart are saying, have faith, trust that you're being supported and held and allowed to hold your process in this time with compassion, Neptune, to have a sense of faith that this is part of your spiritual journey of growth, Jupiter, to know that Chiron's energies are there to support us in healing, and Pluto's giving us that capacity to be in this transformational process, to move into new ways of being. So I encourage you, these are intense times in the collective. These are intense times in our personal lives, as so much of what we're needing to face and heal is getting activated. So hold it with compassion when you're feeling things in an intense way, or feeling that you're getting triggered or reactive in your relationships. Allow yourself to step back, meditate, take time to journal, to look at how those moments of reactivity or of getting triggered are guiding you to see what is the trauma from your past that's needing healing. What are the patterns that you've been caught in that you may not have been looking at consciously or aware of that are needing to shift? Remember that this intense time of transformation, and with the energies of Antares, it can feel like sometimes like we're in a cauldron and the temperature is just rising and things are intensifying and the process of change is accelerating. But these energies are saying you're held, you're guided, you're being supported to be in this process of healing in order to transform and move into new ways of being. And as we do that, as we clear these ways we're out of harmony, out of balance, then we're able to be more in alignment with our inner truth, with our soul selves, with our path and purpose, more in alignment with the earth and sky and the source of all that is, to then move into higher consciousness and support each other as we co-create new paradigms, the new paradigms of the Aquarian age, to create a new world together. Blessed be.